Johan it's very nice to speak to you. Juan K, I suppose you are better known.
Thank
Uh,
you. Same for me.
your name came up here recently because one of your most interesting boats, the Crazy Coyote, which is owned by Norwegian, came on the market for sale the other day, and we were reminded of the very special history of this boat. Perhaps you can tell us a bit about it and the background of making it like that.
Well, Crazy Coyote was an IMS boat that was designed for the Admiral's Cup 1999, and it was one of my first projects. Actually, Ortwin Candler, the owner, and his son Stefan, basically wanted to do a brand new and high-tech IMS project that was the bigger boat. Back then, the Admiral's Cup were three boats per nation and per team, and this was the biggest one. And so we came up with this IMS boat that I had understood that my job was to basically make the fastest boat with the slowest possible rating. And so we explored the rules a lot, and that's what we did. And so we presented ourselves to compete with the French team in Chaos for the Admiral's Cup. And when we did that, all sorts of controversies started happening. I'm not quite sure you want me to get into that detail, but if you do, I can I do remember that very well. So I can tell you a few stories about it.
Well, one of the things was that the boat didn't have any stays, just an unstayed mast, which was quite revolutionary at the time.
Yeah, well, that was done mostly for rating purposes, because there was a kind of a loophole in the rule that if you did that, you were benefiting from significant rating credit without having too much of a downside in performance. In fact, in some conditions, might even be an upside. And so, yeah, we designed this crazy self-sustained mast that was quite tricky to build, but it worked well. I mean, it served its purpose.
But was that the reason why the boat was excluded from the Admiral's Cup?
No, the reason why in fact, the boat was not excluded. The owner uh, retired the boat from the competition by not accepting a modified rating that was done at the last minute. So the story goes as to when we presented, we sent the boat from America. It was built by Guts in Rhode Island. Sent the boat to America about a month and a half, 2 months before the Admiral's Cup. We did a lot of measurements there. We were given a IMS certificate, and we entered the competition, all that. And we did prior to the Admiral's Cup back then. There was a race in Leamington the week before. I forgot the name of the race, but all the competitors were sort of measuring each other back there, and there was a lot of new boats for that competition. There was a new Brava, there was a Innovision. I mean, most of the boats were like brand new. So we went and did the competitions in Leamington with the certificate that we've been given after the measurement. And we were very successful. In fact, I think in corrected time we won all the races, and I think we won in the water all but one that we came second or third. I can't remember, but so the boat was performing really well, and so when the other teams saw that the results were quite good, there was a controversy and a little bit of political manipulation that started, and so the organizing team and particularly the association of the owners of the 50 footers, they started playing with the rating of the boat and started to suggest that the boat should have a different rating, that the rating was too good compared to the performance of the boat, and so forth. And so we entered into a few days of fights, and the conclusion of that was that the organizing authority, I think it was, gave us a revised IMS certificate where the rating was considerably reduced. And this was done after they hired or they asked the IMS technical committee to come out with a new rating, basically. And so we were given 24 hours to accept or decline such a new corrected rating. And I was there representing the owner together with his son. I was very young at the moment. I was probably 25 or 27 years old. And so when I realized that the rating that we've been given was very aleatory and very bad, the correction was basically taking most of the advantages away. I explained this to the owner, and the owner decided that he was not going to accept it. And so we had a meeting the following morning at Harold Cotmer's house in Cowes, by the way, because Harold was acting a bit like a mediator. And so I was already going to that meeting representing the owner in full knowledge that we were not going to accept the proposed rating. And the other owners of the other boats were there represented by Rob Wayland. No, sorry, Rob Wayland was representing Innovision. The other boats were represented by Nicola Cironi, I think, who was the chairman of the IMS committee. Anyway, and so while I was going to decline the new rating, they had thought overnight that the new rating wasn't enough and that we were supposed to score two DNSs the first two races of the day, because that day was the first day of racing, actually. And so when we met, we were coming from very far apart. They were basically saying, "Oh, the modified rating is not enough, and you should not race the first day." And we were coming like saying, "Well, we're not even accepting the rating, let alone not racing the first day." So when that happened, we obviously could not come to an agreement, and the owner decided to retire the boat from the racing and put it in the harbor for everybody to be able to see and ask questions and everything else. And so that was it. That was, in a synthesis, what happened.
Well, this was in 1999, and then in 2001 there was no Admirals Cup, and the last one was held in 2003. Do you think that the inclusion of the IMS rule instead of IOR, or the confusion with measurement rules in general at that time, was instrumental in that development?
I think that it probably could have been. I think that also the race back then was sponsored by Champagne MAM, which was a French company, which didn't like at all the fact that the most important boat of the French team was retiring because of what they conceived to be an unsportsmanship action. And so, I think that they were not happy to continue sponsoring that race. And, I think that everything turned out to be a little bit of a big fight and turmoil afterwards. It was a shame, really, but that's what happened in '99.
Where did that take you as a yacht designer? What did you learn from it?
What did I learn from it?
Yes.
That you cannot design something that makes the competition obsolete.
Right. But that was not your intention. You just wanted to get at the boat.
I was very young. Of course, it wasn't my intention. I was trying to do the best. I was asked to do the best possible job I could do. But of course, we had a rating which was unbeatable, really. And so I think that's what sparked the controversy. Back then, I was 25 or 26 years old. I didn't know any better. I think right now things could be a lot more handled a lot differently. But but I do believe, however, that the establishment, let's say, did not behave very well and very sportsmanlike. I think that there was absolutely no reason why we shouldn't have been allowed to race with the certificate we had. The boat was perfectly legal under the rules of the time. And so maybe what we could have done is modify the rules afterwards. But I think that the boat should have been allowed to race with its original certificate.
Mm. In any event, that put you sort of on the map as one of the major and more promising young designers at the time, and has sort of established you as one of the major designers, for the last 25 years. And what was your next project after that Admirals Cup?
Well, I was working with the America's Cup back then already, so most of my career, my early career was very America's Cup based. So after that, I continued working with Luna Rossa and the America's Cup in Italy and New Zealand, and then after that, I moved on quickly with the Oracle campaigns. So for me, it would have been obviously much better if the Crazy Coyote story would have ended differently and the boat would have been allowed to race. It's true that there was a lot of publicity out of that, but I don't think it was good publicity because I prefer the publicity when boats win.
Absolutely. But you say America's Cup has been sort of your base to some extent, and of course you were very much involved in the recent America's Cup in Barcelona, where you were a designer and advisor for the French America's Cup team. They bought basically a design from New Zealand. What influence could you have on that previously sort of established design?
Yeah, none. That's I was going to say that I wasn't that much of as a designer, even though the definition of design could be very broad. I was asked to join the team at the very end because in the America's Cup, as in any boat, but in the America's Cup is particularly the case. One thing is to have a good design, and another thing is to use it to its potential. And so the team was so short of time to get up to speed and get the boat going that they asked me to come and join the team and help them in that process, looking a lot at the other teams. I was doing quite a lot of recon work, looking at how the other teams and boats were functioning. And based on that, I was proposing and promoting different ways of sailing our own boat. And together with the rest of the team, we were trying to speed up the process of sailing the boat as at its highest possible potential. We were really short of time. It was a shame, but I enjoyed it a lot. It was an extraordinary experience. There's a lot of very talented people in that team. I was working very closely with the crew, very closely with Frank Camas, with whom we have a very good relationship since the Volvo that he won with one of our boats. And so I felt it was a very nice experience. I've learned a lot.
Right, and the French team did quite well, everything considered, the lack of time and probably also lack of funds. So one cannot complain. So how do you look forward with the French?
Yeah, well, we are in a good relationship. At the moment, the idea is to continue in whatever would be the format and the schedule of the cup. We will know very soon. And hopefully, if the conditions are in place, if the funding of the team is put in place and everything works well, we will be able to continue and hopefully this time with a little bit more time to develop things properly and be more competitive. The boat that the design of the boat that was purchased from Team New Zealand was certainly a very good package, and that puts the team in a very good starting point to build from there into the next campaign.
Yes, and the next campaign you would have to be on your own. You cannot expect any help from New Zealand.
Yes, I mean that is certainly what I believe the present strategy is. However, the rules, the applicable rules for the next America's Cup are unknown yet. There's some negotiations going on. Whether a design package will be able to be purchased by other teams or not is yet to be seen. I think that it will remain open, and I think it will be down to each independent team to whether sell their knowledge or choose not to. I think each team will be free to choose that. But I don't think it's something exclusive of Team New Zealand. Any other team would be able to sell their IP if they so wish to. Yeah.
Right. Will Orient Express still be the sponsor for the French team?
That's something I cannot comment at the moment because there are negotiations happening, and I will stay on my little yacht designer seat.
Right. Well, we cannot talk about your career without mentioning the Volvo Ocean Race because you've had a couple of designs there that have been very successful. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we won the three Volvo Ocean Races we did, or the only three we were allowed to, by the way, because that's another controversy. But the three we did, yeah, our boats, our designs won the three of them, and that was very good. Yeah, we had a good run, and actually, funny enough, you mentioned that those boats are still winning. Actually, the boat that won the last Volvo we did, that was Groupama, that then ended up being Willow, ended up being it's already on fourth ownership. Just won the Caribbean 600 in corrected time. Those boats are still scoring really well, and it's good to see that 15-year-old designs are still winning. Actually, the Sydney to Hobart was won by an even older design. That was the old Ericsson that we did in 2008, I think, and won the last Sydney Hobart in corrected time. And another Volvo 70 won the Transatlantic a month ago or so in corrected time as well. So, Volvo 70s are doing really well when it comes to offshore racing.
How many are there around doing competitive racing today? Do you know?
Well, most of the ones we design are still going on because the Telefonica is now Pywalket, although it's been quite modified. Puma is now Aeolios, the Greek boat that just finished third or fourth, I think. Groupama is Schultz, the one that won. Ericsson 4 is boat owned by it's Trifork, owned by the Danish owner. That boat's done very well as well. So they're all Ericsson 3 is Willow or Celestial that won the Sydney to Hobart. So they're all still sailing and winning.
But then you have been involved in some very different direction because you have been modifying the starboats. You are a starboat sailor yourself, and you have been working with the tolerance of the design.
Yeah, I did 3 starboats already. One that actually was used in the 2008 Olympics that won the Olympic gold with Ian Percy and Bart Simpson. I'm pretty sure that they would have won the gold medal with any other star, but I was very happy and proud to work with them in developing that boat. And since then, we've done 2 new designs, and yes, I'm currently using one of them myself. And the star class it's been a little bit the love of my life, So I've always tried to do a lot of racing in the star class and enjoy very much the design process and the development process that the class allows. It's very, very interesting.
Yes. Let us talk about your connection with the Swan.
Mhm. So Swan is a very successful and big company, and they do production sailboats, and that those production sailboats are mostly divided into cruising boats and racing boats. The racing boats are called Club Swan, which are the ones that I design. And so there is a whole circuit which is called the Club Swan circuit, and in which several of these Club Swans they race on a regular basis. You have the 50-footer, the Club Swan 50, that has a whole circuit. And now those are going to be joined by the Club Swan 43, which we are just about to launch. The first boat is going to be racing in Palmavela this year. It's just about to be launched end of March. And there's the Club Swan 28, which is the smallest one that we launched last year, which is doing really well as well. And then on that line of Club Swans, we've done all the boats which were one-offs. We've done the Club Swan 80, which basically it is my song, the boat that races in mostly in the Mediterranean. And then Scorpios, which is the Club Swan 125 that participated in the Fastnet and the Caribbean 600, etc., a few years ago. And hopefully she'll be back in the water this year. As far as I know, that she'll be competing in the most of the Rolex circuit this year.
What about this one 36?
This is the Club Swan 125, 125 called Scorpios.
No. I thought I was asking about the Club Swan 36.
Oh yes, but the Club Swan 36, I forgot. I'm sorry. The Club Swan 36 is the other fleet that takes part of the circuit. That's an amazing boat, actually. It's one of the best designs I ever did. That Club Swan 36 is incredibly fast. Very, very nice boat. And yeah, they have a solid fleet of about 10 boats that sail every year on the circuit. Those boats could be really good for offshore double-handed or offshore racing. I'm considering, I'm actually working with one of the owners to come up with a design to do that boat for offshore, transform the Club Swan 36 into, we're going to put like a hood, like a Dodger, and do a couple of mods to make it completely offshore proof. And I think those boats will have a very good second life as offshore racers.
Right. So your commitment to Swan is basically on the racing and the sort of cruiser racers. That's done by somebody else.
Yes, that's how it's been so far. I mean, Swan has been now a change of hands. San Lorenzo is now the main shareholder of Swan. So the company is going through a transition period that is looking at the future with a new perspective. And so a lot of the decisions that will come for the future are being sort of measured and analyzed right now. So I don't think nobody knows exactly the lines and the trends that Swan is going to take in the future. Certainly, it's going to be a bit different, diverse to what has happened so far. But I'm hoping to be part of that new history of Swan. Of course, we're in a very good relationship with the boatyard itself, with the new owners of the company. I was with them in Italy a few days ago. So we're in a transition period, looking at the future.
Which also includes design of superyachts, I understand.
Yes, they have this very solid intention, even though it's more than an intention to go into that world. And I think from what I've heard a few days ago, they have a very clever strategy and very clever way forward. So I think that they will be successful there as well. Things are going to be quite active in the next few years in this new life of Swan.
Mm. Well, Juan K, thank you very much for taking your time. It's been very nice, very interesting to talk to you, and you have enlightened us on more than one subject. So thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you very much, you, and congratulations on your website and your work is very nice.
Thank you.